Hey, are you really not done with your applications yet? Really? There's only a few days left until applications are due. You had all this time to work on your essays and you waited until just now to finish? You spent all your time watching anime instead of working on your applications? Tisk, tisk, tisk. Nah, I'm just kidding. I did the same thing. Hi there. Welcome to Drick's room. My name is Drick. Here we are. It's the end of the year. Christmas was a few days ago. New Year's is in a few days from now. We're in the midst of the holiday season and also at the end of another year of the college application cycle. But if you're watching this video, there's a good chance that you haven't finished all your applications yet. Maybe you haven't even started some of your essays yet. I'm not here to judge. If you fit this description, I imagine you might be feeling quite stressed at the moment. You might be thinking that you should drop a couple schools since deadlines are so close, or you might want to hunker down and grind through the rest of your applications. In any case, you're here watching this video, maybe to do some research to help prepare yourself for these last few essays you need to write. Procrastinating, in other words. If you're asking yourself whether or not you can even finish your applications before the deadlines, I'm here to say that you can finish in time. Whether you start right after you watch this video or on the morning of January 1st, I think there's definitely still time to finish. Last year, around this time, I myself had a number of applications I hadn't finished yet. It was a really stress-filled time. Honestly though, I really only had myself to blame. I had a lot of time to get work done, but I preferred to watch SAO and My Hero Academia instead. And when it came to the end of the year, I had a bunch of applications left, and I didn't have anything to say but, well, if it isn't the consequences of my own actions. But I got through it and I finished all my applications, and I know you guys can too. It will take a carefully executed plan though. So what I want you guys to do right now is, if you scroll down, you'll find a red button next to my name. Click on that button. Then you'll find a button that looks like a thumbs up. Click on that too. You guys got it? Great. Thanks for smashing that like button for the YouTube algorithm and subscribing to my channel. Alright, now seriously, if you want to finish your applications by the deadline, given that you only have a few days to go, what should you do? Well, it's gonna depend on a couple things. First, how many schools you have left. Second, how many days you have left at the time of watching this video. Right, so on the first point, how many applications still need to be finished? I like to divide the number of schools a student may have left into 4 different categories. First, 0 schools. If you have 0 applications left to do, congratulations, you're all done. Go watch some VTubers. Having no applications left is the goal here, but it's okay if you're not there yet. We'll get there. Next, 1 to 2 schools. If you only have a couple of schools left, that's also a pretty good place to be in. At least I think so. You're already doing better than I was at this time last year. Then you got 3 to 6 schools. This is a decent number of schools. A little bit stressful. Okay, pretty stressful. Still doable though. Last, we have 7 plus schools. If you have more than 7 applications left to do, man, best of luck. But again, still doable, as long as it's not like the day before applications are due. In that case, best of luck. And the second component to this is how much time you have left until your applications are due. In other words, when is your deadline? Most applications for regular decision are due January 1st, but there are some other schools that have their deadlines on the 2nd and 3rd and so on. So if you're watching this video when it comes out, which should be on Monday, you have until Friday-ish, maybe Saturday or Sunday. So that gives you, including today, 5 or so days to finish your applications. And of course, if you're watching this in the near future, like next year for example, you may have even more time, again, depending on when you start watching this video. Okay, so if we take the number of applications you have left and the amount of time you have left, we can divide the number of schools left over the remaining few days. For example, if you have 2 schools left and have 5 days until the deadlines, you can spend 2.5, almost 3 days on each school. If you have 5 schools left and have 5 days, you can spend 1 day on each application. And if you have 8 schools left and it's New Year's Eve, you can spend about 5 or 6 hours on each school. As you can see with that example, starting earlier is better because it gives you more time to allot to each school. But if you already did that, you wouldn't be watching this video. Procrastination! Alright, so after you've worked out how much time you can spend on each application, assuming you want to spend an equal amount of time on each school, there are 3 paths you can take. First, you can cut your losses and reduce the number of schools you're applying to. Realistically, you only have a few days left, and if you have a lot of applications left, you might not be able to give your best. You know, if you spread yourself too thin, none of your applications may be as good as they could have been. So if you drop a couple schools that are lower on your list, you could have more time to spend on the other schools that are higher up on your list. Second, you can shut yourself in your room for the next few days and really hunker down, grind through your applications. 5 days gives you 120 hours, and if you take out 6 hours a day for sleeping and eating, you have 90 hours to work on your essays and stuff. And if you have 6 schools left, for example, that would give you 15 hours per school, which I would say is pretty solid and would give you enough time to finish all your applications. Third, you can continue putting it all off until the last day. I've talked about this before, but I have heard from other students that leaving their applications until the very last moment possible really strips away any inhibitions and second guessing that you may have had otherwise, because you'll be too focused on trying to at least get something written down. And through that desperation to finish, whatever you are able to come up with is like a pure and raw reflection into who you are. This has worked out for some people I know, so it is an option, although personally I wouldn't recommend it because of how risky and stressful this route is. So now that we have all of our cards laid out, I'd say that the best option in this kind of situation would be to drop a couple of schools so that you can have more time to work on your other applications. Having less schools to worry about means that you can devote more time and effort to a smaller number of schools. But personally, I wouldn't want to cut down my list even further. Instead, I would go with the second option, which is to spend the rest of the time I have left doing nothing but working on my applications. No anime, no VTubers, no K-dramas for the next couple of days. If you don't want to sacrifice the quality of your applications and at the same time you don't want to let go of some of your schools, I think this is the way to go. So, game plan. You're gonna have to spend a significant amount of your waking hours just sitting in front of the computer. Time is of the essence, so we gotta optimize this. Ideally, you want to eat something before you start writing, because at least in my experience, trying to write while on an empty stomach hasn't really worked out too well. And having water with you is also a good idea because, it's important to stay hydrated. Also, background distractions may also be present, which, as we know, isn't really too conducive to good writing. It would be good to try to set yourself up in a quiet place and maybe even pop on your headphones and listen to some lo-fi hip-hop radio beats to relax/study to. This is all to help you get into the zone while you're scrambling to finish your last few supplements. At this point, hopefully, the other parts of your application are already done. If you applied to any school's EA or ED, you will have already filled out the rest of your application besides your supplemental essays, since those vary by school. You can also, if you want, make some edits to things like your activities and award sections, or even your Common App essay if you'd like. But for the most part, the only thing students have left at this point, assuming they've already finished applications for other schools, is the various supplemental essays you have to write. As for the actual writing process, although this isn't a good practice normally, you might have to recycle your essays. This isn't going to work for prompts that are inherently specific to certain schools, such as the Why Us essay, but for more general types of essays, it is an option. I mean, if you only have 2 hours left before your last application is due, and you still have a whole essay to write, it might be better to reuse some of what you wrote for your other essays than to try to speedrun this last essay. Although it is ultimately up to you what you decide to do. For example, if you want to try to reuse an essay about your nonprofit or something, at the least, it would be good to try to tailor it to the specific school you're working on. So you could have the part of the essay that talks about your nonprofit directly taken from another school, but then you could also add some details that connect it to opportunities or resources that are available at the school you're applying to. If you have essays that you had written previously, maybe for early action or an RD school that you had started earlier, you might have content there that you spent a solid amount of time on that you can bring over to these essays that you don't have a whole lot of time to work on. In a way, it's kinda like you're cutting corners here, but in this case, you're still able to put out a solid essay. With all that said though, I do think that some of the essays I wrote in the last few days leading up to my deadlines were some of my best work. You know, starting earlier or spending more time on an application isn't gonna automatically make it better than one that started later or has less time spent on it. If you're feeling stressed about these last few days and trying to finish up all your applications in time, I know how you guys feel. I've been there. And since I've been through the process myself, I can tell you that you can finish. It's gonna take a lot of effort and discipline to grind through the rest of your work, but it is doable. And you don't even have to sacrifice the quality of your applications. So in short, you guys got this. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Holidays, and happy end to the college application season. Good luck to all y'all, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!